Hello and welcome. I'm April Gallagher, joined today, as always, with Anna Clint, and this is Obstacle Illusion. And we're on this journey of looking at life's purpose. Do we have one? What is it? How do you bring it into your life? And today we're looking at specifically letting go of what I thought I wanted or what you thought you wanted. So this is part of the phase of looking at the hard stuff. And this shows up, right? Of having to take a good hard look at what we thought we wanted and then deciding if that's really what we still want. And I think a key component of that, and everyone is aware of this at this time, is that you have to disentangle what you think you want from what other people have wanted for you that you just accepted as being what you wanted as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what society or family or culture says is the right thing for you,
Right.
acceptable, the right course of action. Totally. That's a big one because we're so impressionable when we're young. So it's like, of course we would take on like what other people want for us, and especially women. Of course, I always talk about especially women, and it's only because I'm not a man, so I can't really speak from the man's perspective. But I know that women are definitely conditioned to take care of other people and to be people pleasers. And hopefully that's changing. Like, I hope that your daughters don't ever please a single person, especially you.
I hope they please me always. Shut up, Anna.
Where are those kids? I need to have a talk with those kids. But
At school right now.
I mean, so just to say, like, hopefully things are changing, but that for us, for me, like there was a certain kind of path. No one was saying you have to be a doctor, thank God, but there was definitely like a certain educational path that was that I actually didn't think that I had any choice in the matter, and I just followed along with, and of course like bombed out of college because I didn't want to be there. I mean, I eventually got a degree, but I did it in my own time, in my own way. But so we're people pleasers. There's this whole idea of like, if you do certain things in the world, you'll have more safety and security and stability, right? Like if you choose certain kind of career paths, for instance, or if you choose marriage, for instance, as a woman, like you might feel like you're more secure. And so we do a lot of things out of this kind of like fear of insecurity, of like fear of not being safe. I'm thinking right now there's this great after school animation that's SKOOL, After School. Do you watch those guys, April, on YouTube? Oh my God, great YouTube channel. Okay. But there's this one, so it's this guy who does all these whiteboard drawings, like animations over people, philosophers, thinkers, scientists, psychologists, like all different people. He'll take a voice clip and then he'll animate and do a visual. So you're getting the spoken word and you're getting this really like a visual kind of way of learning about things. Really great. And about topics about awakening and being your own person and autonomy and all of these other things. But I got totally off topic. Everyone should be watching After School. I should actually get some kickbacks.
Let's just stop this now. Let's just everyone just stop this video. You're already on YouTube, and just go over to After School.
Just go over to After School and watch this one video about being safe. Oh. And it's something, and I can't remember the title of it, but it'll be obvious. But how safety is, completely shuts us down spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. Our need to be safe is a hardwired part of the human condition, but two, it keeps us from our purpose. It keeps us from becoming who we are here to become. And so that's really what this thing is like, we get set for some reason, and it may not be about safety, but it might be about safety. We get this set idea about like how we are should be moving through the world and like what we're here to do. Like, great example is me, right? I went to art school, got an art degree, and really thought that art was my purpose, and that as long as I'm making art, like, I'm living my purpose. And I was, completely hollow inside. I love art. I'm a totally creative person. All the outside markers match, but there was a spiritual marker that didn't match with me in art. Now, that's not to say that it won't match at some point in the future, but the way I was going about it and pursuing being an artist was antithetical, was opposite of what I needed to be a whole person.
Mhm.
And so I was not living my purpose as an artist, and so it was very confusing, right? And my whole identity was being an artist. Like, I made a living as an artist,
Mhm.
as a maker, as a craft person. And I studied art, and I was around art. I was around artists all the time. Like, that was my identity. And so to walk away from that, when I finally couldn't do it anymore, when the spiritual crisis was so great, was terrifying. It was terrifying because it was who I was, right? It was how I identified. And I thought that was me being on purpose,
Right.
was living, living as an artist.
I think you hit on something that, although I don't want to stray too far from the safety thing, but we're talking about letting go of letting go of what I thought I wanted, um, letting go of who you think you are. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's that I think that so closely. I mean, like another layer of depth perhaps under what you think you want is the identity thing of who you
Mm-hmm.
think you are. And when
Right.
you can actually, I mean, and this totally falls under looking at the hard stuff, and when you're really really willing to look at what you're identified with, like who you think yourself to be,
Mm-hmm.
and you can start letting go of those identifications. Doesn't mean that you don't still do those roles, or you don't still form and fulfill that function in the
Mm-hmm.
world, but you're no longer just an artist, right?
That's
you're
right.
you're you're you as you expressing yourself through art
Mm-hmm.
from time to
Mm-hmm.
time, or
Right.
um and and it's this identification with stuff that really gets us into so much trouble, when we're
Mm-hmm.
when we're identified, when we don't realize that we're identified with things like beliefs or
Right.
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 And then
Or groups of
um
people or activities.
right.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that when you're identified with it, when you mistake that to be who you are, then you feel under attack all the time, right? Kind
Mm-hmm.
of back to the safety,
Totally
because
does.
if
Mm-hmm.
somebody challenges an idea that you have and you're identified with, you don't realize that that idea is not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then that idea becomes challenged in some way, you physically feel attacked. You
Absolutely.
feel, you don't feel safe. You go
Mm-hmm.
into a um
Mm-hmm.
the fight, flight, freeze, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be, because there's no separation between that and your
Right.
sense of
Right.
self.
That's right. So
um
you're even touching on like an even like more esoteric aspect of purpose, which is that everything that we see in our world, we look in the mirror, we see a body, we look across the room, we see another body, we see whatever we see all these things that seem separate from us. And what you're really even talking about at a much deeper level is that to get to drill down into like to peel back every single layer, right? We're peeling back the layer of personality, the layer of psychology, the layer of I just watched another after school video about this last night. That was Ram Dass talking about this. And that like there's all these layers that we view the world through, and we see people as their personality, and then their psychology, and then their astrology, really, like what sign are you, and then we see them then at another, another level awakening, I see you as me, right?
Mhm.
I see you and me as one. And then but we go down and down and down until there is actually nothing. Like, before the word, there
Mhm.
was what? Just, I don't know, I wasn't there. Was I there? Maybe I
Chocolate.
was there. There was chocolate, and that was all that it was. And we were all chocolate. We ate the chocolate. We loved the chocolate. We were the chocolate. We
We
did not know
breathed
that we were the
it. We were
chocolate.
just
Exactly. And you drill down into the very, very essence, which is to say that we are pure consciousness, I think is what it was going at. That's my interpretation. And so when we can get back into that lens, then how do we even see the the way towards purpose? At that point, the purpose is just to be aware and awake, right? Like that's it. Like that's all that there is. There's nothing else.
Mhm.
And so to get back into that safety thing, it's like we're so conditioned by culture, society, and our five senses. It's not just outside, it's this physical existence that we have. We're completely conditioned to see things through that layer of personality, psychology, astrology, and to move through the world and to try to find our purpose in that kind of with those lenses is like grasping in the dark for, I mean, it's completely deeply challenging
Mhm.
and confusing, right? Because I think that because I'm an introvert, that's personality, right? And wiring and some psychology. Because I'm an introvert, then my purpose, can't push too many extroversion buttons for me because it's going to be too challenging for me, right? Or whatever. But it really, like, stripping down, 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 my purpose is to be awake and aware. My purpose is to be in love, the primordial soup of the universe, right? Love. That's my purpose. But the safety issue is huge because then my mind goes, but wait, I have to make a living. But wait, how am I going to feed my dog? Or, you know, uh,
Mhm.
like all of these things. And then we start to say, well, shit, how do I find my purpose when I have to, how do I just be, is if my purpose is just love, well, how do I still make a living? How do I do all these other things? How do I make sure that I'm, practicing good oral hygiene so my orthodontist doesn't yell at me?
When you're pondering your life purpose, you might be wondering, how do I maintain good oral hygiene?
I love how we can go to the absolute deepest philosophical questions and then
And then really get to the reality of it, right?
get to the real important question. Does my
How do
best
I
thing
pay for braces?
how do I pay for braces? Exactly. Oh
Um,
God, it's good
I
stuff.
I would say of that one of the keys to releasing to unlocking some of that concern is actually looking at the identification with stuff.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that when you can tease out what you've mistaken yourself to be, what you've mistaken yourself to want, and not through any fault of your own, or not
Sure.
even
No
through the
judgment.
fault of society or anything, like
Mhm.
just that
Totally.
that is what it is, and you find
Mhm.
yourself at this place, and you find yourself deeply attached to these thoughts and ideas and professions and
Mhm.
beliefs and uh, you know oral hygiene routines, whatever it is that just by bringing some awareness, like you're just talking about, just starting to bring some awareness into it and
Mhm.
notice that you have that identification, right?
Yeah.
Because because when you just bring that awareness, then it automatically starts to dissolve some of the attachment. And when you dissolve some of that attachment, you then also dissolve all of the all of the intensity and the
Mhm.
responses when those things come and go, right?
That's right.
And
That's
when you
right.
have more freedom around things coming and going,
Mhm.
you do move through life more easily. And these
Right.
questions of you're you're not constantly then under a barrage of stressors,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And so
Totally.
you have the strength, you have um, a sense of safety, you have some of that just in there inherently, and
Mhm.
then it allows you to be more clear-headed.
Mhm.
It clears off some of those lenses that you're talking about and gives you a fighting chance at being able to say, like, when the well, what if I can't do something comes up? It's like, okay, well, what if I can make it work? Like, what, you know,
Right. Yeah.
what it doesn't have to be either or, right?
Right.
Like,
Totally.
how can I do that?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, this idea of shedding the identities. I remember as an artist, when I had this when I went through the big spiritual crisis, dark night kind of thing, just really definitely feeling terrified. Like, if I'm not this, then what am I? Who am I? And it was a real process of really just sitting with it. That's all I did was I sat with it every day for what felt like about a million years. Of course, obviously it wasn't that long because I'm only 12. But
million and 12.
hey, what? I like that old. Um, but yeah, like allowing it to just allowing it to first allowing it to just be, and then allowing it to unravel, and then to sit in that mystery. Well, if I am not this, what I ended up doing actually was I just gave myself permission. I just said, "Yeah, all right, you have permission to not make any art ever again, but you can still call yourself an artist." And that was what like unlocked the thing, right? Was like the grip was like, well, I have to be making, but when I make, I feel terrible. And it's not coming from a place of love. And I can't do that anymore.
Mhm.
And so I said, all right, well, you can just still you can call yourself an artist, until you have something else to call yourself. But that was and then it allowed me to not grab it like this. And I could just open my hand. And then it was a gradual process of like, you know, entering deeper and deeper into the mystery, into the unknown.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nicola?
You got me very on a strong point today. I find, yes, purpose is a really interesting thing. I feel that it has these identity things have to do with entanglement
Mhm.
very much, and it gets so far that you can feel like a mummy, entangled as most as can be, and then you get in a state of stuckness too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think at the moment we are energetically at somehow at that point too in the whole world, but it is getting loose, that mummy. um, and I feel that permeability. You were at that point a few sentences ago, allows me to get these entanglement loose.
Mhm.
And I feel when I take the words you used in the discussion, awareness is really important about it, and getting having this permeability to let other things touch me.
Mhm.
If I walk around with an armor, it doesn't work. And then it comes to love too. Because
Mhm.
if I love, I can let go of that armor, and I can be aware, and I can have this permeability, and I can go with the flow of life. But sometimes with with all energetically moving on, we aren't able to do that, just that. But and and I feel this darkness comes to the dark night of the soul, because you get yourself entangled, and then it's all black,
Yeah.
and you don't find any way out of this blackness, and then you get and and then you open up a little at any given moment. You don't know how long it takes, and then you get this permeability and this openness back, and then stability comes with only going with this flow. I don't know whether it's not a linear process.
Mm-mm.
It's a coming and going,
Mhm.
and I feel too. Or I last week or so I got this idea, or I found it anywhere, that we not only once go through the dark night of the soul, and it comes to identity too, because you don't just now ask yourself, am I what I am? Because it comes to that, if you will. Uh, it it's it's an infinite process. You define, I am an artist. Yes, I am an artist. I'm an engineer. Yes, I'm an engineer too. I'm a writer. I think we have this infinite possibility thing, because we all are all that, but we don't have the time. And then it comes to that interesting point. We don't have the time to live all that. We have to decide, and then it's a really it's difficult to walk that path, and stay on it, perhaps, or no, to find the balance, to be at the moment what I want to be, because I'm all that, and then I have to choose. I find this difficult to clarify, and with speaking about it, there are thoughts that mix themselves up into it. I hope I got clear in what I wanted to say, because I summed a little up what you said, and I agree totally. It's really interesting. And as I was thinking about Dark Nights of the Soul, uh, what is an identity crisis, by
Yeah.
and then it becomes clear that it doesn't it isn't, it sometimes isn't, no, it it's part of our lives, going through the dark night of the soul. Little ones and big ones too, they are different, and it can be traumatizing, so trauma comes into that too. It's really a whole puzzle of parts of the process that come together.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. This whole topic always makes me think of that Joseph Campbell quote that I love. You know, you must
You
be
love a
willing.
Joseph Campbell quote?
I know it's shocking.
Okay, lay it on me.
You must be willing to let go of the life you planned, so as to have the life that's waiting for you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a little like this John Lennon quote, life happens when you plan other things.
Totally.
Mhm.
Totally. Yeah.
And so on that, we'll wrap this up for this week. I mean, I think this maybe is the wrap up for every week, but the awareness part, right? So as you move forward in the next couple of weeks, really just have some awareness and notice where you're strongly identified with, you know, who you think you are, and what you think you want, and then just see if there's perhaps some opportunity to release the grasp a little bit, right? To relax your grip on that, and and just see what comes up, right? Like if it brings up safety fears, or if it brings up, but it's only in that letting go that we really have any opportunity to receive, right? It's like if you're walking around with balled fists, like how, like I'm having a hard time picking up my mug, you know, I mean, it's like,
But I can pick it up, but I don't think I can drink it.
right, without getting soaked. So,
Yeah.
I think it's a balanced thing too. You need to have sometimes a grip on something, but you need also to let loose of some things. I feel that it's the awareness is the regulator that that tells you if you have to take on something, because if you aren't engaged in a project, it's it's useless too. It needs this engagement to be motivated. I find continually motivated. The inspiration is one thing, but you to get the things through, you have to be, I have to be engaged in something. If it's useless in my eyes, I don't get engaged.
yes,
So letting go is not the only thing that helps find purpose in my eyes. It's the whole thing that's important.
right,
But
yes,
at at times being this and at times being that, and um, appreciating all the possibilities that I have and being aware of every possibility I have. But sometimes that closes off, of course. That's not, it's not that it's always at my disposition, because if you're tired or whatever, you don't have every possibility. Don't have every possibility.
Sure, sure. I think just with the letting go, April's really talking about letting go of what we're strongly
What with
identified with.
identities, yes, but sometimes I think it's important too to hold on to something, because if I cannot hold on to an aspect of my identity, I don't follow through with my project.
I see what you're saying.
I uh, it's to find that Beliebigkeit, arbitrariness. It's not it has not any sense if you have if you follow
I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from, and yes, that's not the part of letting go. Isn't then you just go into apathy and you're not identified with
yes,
anything. Right?
exactly,
It's
exactly.
it is a balance. It is a part of a process, and in this particular component of the journey, we are focusing on that aspect of, you know, what are you grasping so tightly that you're not then giving yourself the space to experience something else. And so it's not necessarily that you're just completely letting go of everything and being apathetic and not becoming engaged. It's more just to allow then the life energy to come in so that it can move you towards what else, you know, what to give you the energy you need to rise to what's presenting to be done.
Right. And we didn't mention this specifically, but the subtext here is to let go of what the ego wants, to let go of the concept that we have, you know, laid forth that may not actually be aligned with the truth of who we are. And that's really this, you know, and you know, the egoic aspect of it isn't just like what we want. That is also sometimes, you know, tied into the, you know, social landscape, the cultural landscape, all of this stuff, and that's really like what the focus of this was. But yeah, yes, like we don't want to let go of everything and just become a lump on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop recording.
All right, bye.
Bye.